We have fantastic sponsors like Foothill Transit sponsor us, and we will promote you on the show too. Now on to the national convention.
Yes.
Little morning buzz.
A lot of people are saying that Ted Cruz committed political suicide.
I think that's kind of interesting.
He
I don't know if he's
endorse
setting
Trump.
himself up or for
Could be a
2020
long-term goal, could be short-term, but we'll find out with our friend Derek Georgino. Derek, what's our opinion on
what are
this?
your thoughts on this whole interesting situation with Ted Cruz?
Thank you for having me. Happy to be here. Well, whether it was political suicide or not, I don't think he'll be out of work for long if it was. He's Ted Cruz. But while I do prefer Donald Trump to Hillary Clinton, I do not fault Ted Cruz for failing to endorse Donald Trump.
Are you saying like he's going to take the long route?
You know what? Ronald Reagan, despite popular opinion, did not endorse Gerald Ford at the 1976 Republican Convention.
Right.
He then went on to win 2 presidential elections in 2 of the most massive landslides in modern American history. And he was able to do that because he clearly communicated conservative principles, and he stood on those principles, and he was consistent. And so no one could say, oh, but you endorsed the establishment guy back in 76.
Did he
They
actually
couldn't catch
present
him.
at the convention, though, and not endorse?
He spoke at the convention.
He did.
And he did not endorse Gerald Ford.
Okay.
And he spoke at the convention because he had delegates there. And when you have delegates at the convention, as Cruz did, and he has a significant amount of delegates,
Right.
he gets to speak. The criteria is not whether Donald
that's
Trump
true.
invites you to speak at his convention. It's not his convention. It's the Republican Party's convention. And if you have delegates there, you get to speak. And it doesn't mean that you have to endorse the nominee.
So do you
Ronald Reagan
think
did
the
not.
fact that they booed Ted Cruz was almost them saying like, hey, this is Donald Trump's rally, you have to adhere to the orange law?
Well, if they did think that, they're wrong because it's not Donald Trump's rally. It may be an appearance, but it is not. It is the Republican Party's rally.
Right.
It is the Republican Party's event.
Yeah.
And in addition to Reagan, I believe there were issues with Nixon and a couple of the other presidents over vast period of time that did the
Over-endorsing,
same
failing to
types of
endorse.
Yeah.
things. But it is very interesting as far as, is he setting himself up for 2020 election because he thinks that Trump will implode?
Yeah, it's possible.
It's very possible. The polls, statistically, the 2 candidates, Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump, are in a dead heat. He may think that Donald Trump doesn't have a very good shot at winning in the general election, or the man could just be standing on principle. I think people forget that Ted Cruz is one of the most consistently conservative men in the United States. He has been a conservative his entire life. People talk about Ronald Reagan. He was a conservative for 30 years before he ran for office. Ted Cruz has been a conservative for however many years he has been alive. Okay, he could just be standing on principle. And I would ask any man in the United States, if you're married, if someone tweets things disparaging about your wife's appearance or accuses your father of helping to assassinate JFK, are you going to publicly endorse that person? Maybe you privately vote for them.
Well,
and if I had to guess, I would say Ted Cruz is
Yeah.
probably likely to vote for him, but publicly endorse him, I didn't think he was
You
going
lose credibility.
to.
You may or may not remember when Bill Clinton was running and the press was really attacking their daughter and how unattractive she was. Hillary actually got up and admonished them for talking about a little girl in a negative way like that. And I could see him wanting to defend his family members. But who started the whole issue with Melania in the pictures?
Well,
in
that
the
was Ted
press?
Cruz's super PAC. And people need to understand that a super PAC is separate from a candidate. It is against the law for a candidate to be associated in any way, shape, or form with a super PAC. It is not allowed. You are not allowed to know people running the super PAC. You are not allowed to talk to the people or direct the super PAC.
Do you really
And if
believe
he
that they
was
don't know?
Yeah, do they?
I
under that law,
do not
that
believe
rule?
Ted Cruz went and broke one of the most obvious laws of political campaigning life and went on and helped direct a smear on Donald Trump's wife for the Utah primary, which he was expected to win since day one, and he didn't even need that photo out there to win it. No, I don't think. And if someone thinks that Ted Cruz broke the law and directed the super PAC to do that, well, then I can't argue against that. If you think Ted Cruz broke the law and directed the super PAC to attack Donald Trump's wife first, then that's what you think. I don't think that. And I mean, if that's the case, there's no argument to be had.
How about some of the other unendorsers? Are we hearing anything about their interest of supporting or not supporting? We see Paul Ryan on board now. who is with Trump and who is against Trump.
You see the
in his
establishment
party.
coming around and endorsing Trump now. I don't know if that's a good thing for Donald Trump or a bad thing. He prides himself on not being establishment. He's got some people who are not establishment, like Jeff Sessions endorsing him. He's got people who are establishment now endorsing him. He's got Paul Manafort running his campaign. He's a delegate counter for Gerald Ford.
Some would say
Doesn't
that
get
even
more
Mike Pence
establishment
is
than that.
establishment as well, right?
Well, Mike Pence, I feel, is a great grassroots conservative who stands very firmly on conservative principles, free market capitalism, tax cuts, expanding the tax base, creating jobs, those kinds of principles. I don't think Mike Pence is an insider. I think he challenges the establishment. I think Mike Pence is a great conservative, and that's what I think Donald Trump, and I thought it was a great pick because a lot of the conservative base was acting like they weren't going to show up to vote for Donald Trump. And to be honest, that is why John McCain and Mitt Romney lost their elections.
Derek Georgino, thank you very
Thank you.
much. Great conversation today, and I'm sure we'll see you again.
Thank you for having me. I always love being here.
Thanks
Thank
so
you.
much. Up next, we have what can we do to save our oceans and the marine life?
The president of the Ocean Conservation, Madalena BRC, has information next.